all I do is make a loop in the first yarn. We're going to make a 3-yard warp, and I could measure it exactly if I had limited amount of yarn. I take a tape measure or a guide string and measure exactly 3 yards, just because I think this is a yard doesn't mean it's exactly a yard. So I'm going to talk as I go at the beginning, and then I'll explain more about this in more detail. First of all, since I'm winding this from a ball, I don't want to wind too tight. It's easy to get it too tight when it's snug in the ball there, so I want to have it a little bit loose. The most important thing with winding a warp is consistency, not that it's super tight. You don't want it super tight, but you don't want it too loose either. So it's just so that it's consistent. If it starts dragging on the ball, then you're apt to get more, it's apt to be too tight. So I've set up this warping frame outside so it's not so distracting as inside. And however, it's a little wobbly. Ideally, that's not the ideal case, but it's going to be okay. But I put it at the height where it's about right for me. Okay, since we're winding this warp, I've already measured the yarn. I figured out what I want in terms of ends per inch. I want 8 ends per inch. I have 2 crosses, and I will show you the crosses in a minute. There's 2 places, the top and the bottom, where every other yarn goes over or under, or it crosses, makes an X. So what you can tell yourself is when you get to those pegs, over, under, I'm going to come around here. I'll tell you about the bottom cross in a minute because it's a little bit different. Over, under. So every time I go past this thread by thread cross, I tell myself over, under. Let's look at it again. Okay, over, under. That gives me a cross there. All right, the bottom cross, because I'm winding back to front, and that's another lesson. I'm winding back to front, so I want to cross, I want 2 crosses. This is the thread by thread cross, and the one at the bottom is a cross for every inch. I've already decided I'm going to have 8 threads per inch, so my cross now is every 8 threads goes one direction or the other. And I'll move the camera so you can see that. And I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so then this one goes the other way. See, I've already wound 2 inches. It's pretty quick. All right, I've got somebody else holding the camera now, so we're going to try this from another angle. Notice that I'm using both hands because the ball or the cone, the yarn feeds up from the bottom, and if I use I'm using my right hand to control that, but the left hand comes over and acts as I don't know, drags the yarn more smoothly over. Here's the first cross, and this is that threading, the rattle cross that is going to have 8 threads in each direction. That's an under, over. Let's watch that again. This one's always over, under for every single thread. This is the one where I want 8 threads, and that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I go the other way, and I do an inch worth of threads, which in this case is 8 threads. And this is not ideal that this is wobbly, but hey, I'm only winding 8 inches. It's not that big a deal. So notice how both hands are involved though. The yarn is feeding freely. It's fairly loose. Well, it's not super tight, let's put it that way. And that's just how I want it, but it's consistent. So that's the 5th, 6th thread. This is 7, 8, and I'm halfway through with my 8 inches already. Oops, I see a mistake. All I do is pull it under there. And now I'm going to add the brown. If I were going to be doing plaid or stripes or something and use this white one again, I would just leave it back there, attach my next one, keep on going, and then when I'm done, I move this one back and pick that one up again. Since I'm only going to do half white, half black, I'm going to cut that one off, break it off, tie the brown one to it, just any old knot that will hold it. Whoops, not that. Okay, so I'm tying this knot. Got distracted. We had to go fix electric fence and ear gate, so that's what I've been doing. All right, now I'm ready with a brown, and I'm just going to do another 4 inches with brown. Same thing. I'm watching my every inch cross. All right, here we go again. Okay, thread number 3 of the brown. Hopefully I have this all untangled now. So I'm doing again, I'm doing a kind of a light tension, but even. That's thread number 6. You can count as you go, or, oh wait, no, that ball is tight. See how tight that is? We don't want it tight like that. You want it to feed evenly. Okay. So you can either count as you go, or it's real easy to just look at your threads like as they come across the peg and count 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. This is 8. That was that inch. And now what am I going to do on the next one? It's every thread up here. It's thread by thread at the cross, over, under. With this one now, I'm going the opposite direction on that cross. So all 8 threads are going the same direction. If I were doing 12 inch, it would be 12 threads. If you're doing very fine threads, you may want to choose a half-inch. Sort of depends on your rattle too. Though most rattles have an inch spacing, but some have the option for half-inch spacings for using fine threads. You just want your rattle cross to be whatever your spacings on your rattle are, and that will come clear when we get to the rattle part. So 8, that's 8. So that's my second thread. See how fast this is going? It would have been a lot faster if I hadn't gone out to the barn and had to work on fences and irrigation. But one thing about doing this rattle cross is it makes it super simple to count right here. I'm going to take this camera off the tripod and show you what I mean. So here's my rattle cross, and it's real easy to put a finger in there, and if I wasn't holding a camera, put the finger in the other side and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's my 8 inches. Here's what that cross looks like from the side. Here's what the threading cross looks like. Every other thread is over, under. Okay, what happens if you find one it's in the wrong place? Not a big deal. Okay. So I'm done with this one now. Okay, other side of this cross. It seems like, especially on a short warp, this may be overkill on the number of ties we put in, but hey, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? And there's the places where this is such a simple, easy warp, it wouldn't really matter probably. But there are warps where more ties really does make a difference. But what I want you to do is identify the cross. It's between those 2 pegs where you went over, under, makes an X. There's what's called a false cross, and some people get confused by that. I'm going to bring this phone down here and show you what I mean. There's the cross and the 2 ties on each side. I have a tie in the middle. Here's my other cross. I didn't finish tying. Oh, I did tie it all. I tied both of those. But do you see where the threads go crisscross right there? That's our end stick. So the ones that are coming up go that way, the ones that are coming down go that way. That's a false cross. We don't worry about it. It goes away when you get your warp on the loom. So I have some people that try to do all kinds of bundles of tying right there, and it just gets confusing. Those are the ties you need right there. I'm going to put 2 at this end, 1 here and 1 there, and then that's it.